Question, will you be repeating the message of the day at 9:30? Over.
Yes, I will be repeating the message of the day at 09:30 and at 10:00. Network control standing by.
191 standing by.
Harlem Emergency Network, this is 1028. How do you read me? Over.
Read you loud and clear. How do you read me? Over. 1028, I read you loud and clear. How do you read me? Over.
I read you loud and clear. Over.
1028, did you hear the message of the day? Over.
Affirmative. Over.
And what is your location and status? Over.
My location is 59th and Western Avenue. My status is normal. Over.
That's a copy, Hen 28, network control standing by.
So I'll be standing by until the 10 o'clock over. I'm sorry. I'll be standing by until the 10 o'clock hour.
Cause I got some angels.
Check 1 2 loud and clear. 5
I don't have to worry. Cause I protected under the wing.
I read you loud and clear as well. I'm coming in from my placement cell, which is now properly set up to use Zello. I will be standing by till the 1000 hour. I read you loud and clear as well. This is set up to use Zello. I will be standing by till the 1000 hour. I read you loud and clear as well. This
Information Network for our Monday morning radio checks. Again, the time is 0900. This is our message today. Today is May the 18th, 2020. Temperature is 57 degrees out. Highs expected to be 69 degrees and cloudy today. A reminder that we are also participating live this morning on WEBT After Action Report. Today is May 18th. Broadcast can be viewed live on YouTube. Search for WEBT After Action Report 5.18.20, and our radio channel live now in 1000 will also be a part of that broadcast. Action Report. A reminder that tomorrow and Tuesday we have our weekly 2100-hour conference call that will be on regular Zoom line. Also, Wednesday morning, Harlem Emergency Network will be broadcasting our weekly COVID-19 update that's live on Facebook and on YouTube. Our Facebook channel is facebook.com/Harlem Emergency Network. YouTube, also search for our Harlem Emergency Network channel. A reminder that on Wednesday evening, we will continue our amateur radio training. That also will be on Zoom. Also, for Harlem Emergency Network members, please check your emails. You're going to get an email invite to our new Harlem Emergency Network Virtual Operations Center. That will be the repository for all pertinent information, including class material for our amateur radio training, as well as links to the various conference calls and Zoom calls that we have during the week and anything else pertinent. That is the end of our message for the day. We repeat it again at 0930 and at 1000. The time is now 0902. Network control standing by for radio checks from all stations. Network control standing by.
Network control, this is Benoit 1, calling for a radio check. Over.
Hey, good morning. Benoit 1, I read you loud and clear. How do you read me? Over.
Network control, I read you loud and clear 5x5. I am in Fishkill, New York, and my situation is safe. Question, will you be repeating the message of the day at 9:30? Over.
Yes, I will be repeating the message of the day at 0930 and at 1000. Network control standing by.
Benoit 1, standing by.
Harlem Emergency Network, this is 1028. How do you read me? Over.
Read you loud and clear. How do you read me? Over. 28, I read you loud and clear. How do you read me? Over.
I read you loud and clear. Over.
28, did you hear the message of the day? Over.
Affirmative. Over.
And what is your location and status? Over.
My location is 59th and Western Avenue. My status is normal. Over.
That's a copy here in 28. Network control standing by.
I'll be standing by until the 10 o'clock over. I'm sorry. I'll be standing by until the 10 o'clock hour.
Network control, this is CERT 1424. Can I get a radio check? Over.
CERT 1424, I read you loud and clear, 5x5.
I read you loud and clear as well. I'm coming in from my replacement cell, which is now properly set.
Hey, good morning, Bob.
Hey, good morning. Wow, who was that network control operator? He's really on the ball.
That guy was pretty snappy too. He had a snappy voice.
I was listening. It was like listening to the greatest hits, man, all at once. I was like, wow. It seems like I just heard that only a few minutes ago.
That guy's pretty snappy, I must say. He was
Yeah.
giving, you know, and if I was rating it, I would have to give
Yeah.
that eight out of 10.
How you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine, man.
Is that a halo over your head, man? Are you an angel now? You're still with us on this plane, aren't you?
Yes, it is. It is a halo.
Because I feel like if you went to heaven, you'd probably still have all your gear and still run, you know.
That's the light. That's the big light that we all concerned about.
Right.
Don't walk
toward the light, but turn it on.
Don't do that, Jack.
Yeah.
Hey, there was a big fire on 125th.
Yeah, I saw some pictures of it. It was pretty big.
It was pretty good. You know, we have cameras over there, so we got a chance to see it. Pretty. You know, we have cameras around in that area at the plaza.
Yeah.
It was quite a number of vehicles.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it looks so much like an insurance fire. I don't know why I kept thinking.
It's funny. I was just about to say, I saw somebody mention it on Instagram, and in the comments, somebody said basically somebody wanted to cash out. And I was like, yeah, you got a suspicious mind, but you're probably right, because all those stores have been closed for weeks and weeks. So it seems kind of odd for there to be a fire. I mean, who was in there? What was going on that would cause the fire if there's no activity? So,
I mean, it was a big, bright, burning fire, and that's what caught my attention.
Yeah,
it wasn't like that was a fire. There was no putting that fire out.
Right. It's like,
how convenient.
Somebody's like, here's my stimulus check. It's coming from the insurance. It's coming from our good neighbor. Jake from State Farm.
Who's that on the phone?
I'm gonna need you to send me that check.
Well, speaking of checks, Bob, what do you think about the idea that when they had the vote Friday, that only one Republican thought it was a good idea to give money to the states and to send further stimulus checks? Only one Republican out of the whole Congress thought that was a good idea.
I'm surprised we got one. And true to form, he's probably retiring this year.
It was. Actually, you're right. It's Peter King. You're right. You're right. It was Peter King.
Playbook. They get a conscience when they're on their way out the door, you know. But if they're still planning to stay around, they stay in lockstep. They spout the party line straight from Chairman Mitch.
Well, you know, I have a different. I don't call him Mitch. I usually put a B in front of.
Yeah, the B word. Yeah. I think he's earned that. He's earned that.
You know, and I you know, when I see him, I keep thinking to myself, you know, how could they have one person who could decide that we're not even going to bring legislation to the floor? And I kept thinking about, if you a senator, you know, you're like one of two people in the whole state, Bob, who get a chance to go down there. And I don't see how you could be, and this is just me, I don't see how if you're just one of two people from your whole state that goes down to Washington, I don't see how you could be a get along to go along guy.
Well, it just shows that this democracy is broken. You know, it's absolutely broken. We have, three arms of federal government, and pretty much, we have, one half of the legislative branch is partially functional, and the rest are really just screwed up, and that's what we got. And we'll find out in November whether the elective option actually works, because that's kind of broken too and compromised. It's been compromised since the beginning with the Electoral College, but it's also further compromised because the Supreme Court is compromised. And so, if there is a challenge you know, and it goes to the Supreme Court, we're going to see some nonsense. So it's not looking good for, you know, this American experiment, you know, you know, as it stands is, yeah, I don't know.
Well, Bob, I would have to say, Bob, that your positivity is overwhelming me. Knocking me out my seat over here, man.
Well, listen, you know, we keep it real here, don't we? On WEBT After Action Report, we keep it 100. You know, that's 110. You know,
that's crazy.
You know.
Well, you know that,
and at the same point in time, I am still advocating that we exercise our right to vote, because if we don't exercise it, we're in an even worse position. And also want to remind people that if they haven't filled out the census, that they need to fill out the census. It can be filled out online or by phone, but it's important for us to do that because that census determines voting maps, it determines allocation of resources here locally. And you know, all these collective actions, I do believe that collective action still works for us. We're tired of it, but you know what? You can be tired, but if you stop doing it, it gets worse. Point of fact, a couple of things we've seen lately. So collective action got New York City to stop doing social distancing arrests when we found out that 90% of the arrests were us. You know, so we saw that happen. We also saw down south that you see a few brothers showed up at the McMichael's houses down there where the brother got shot for jogging. And some brothers exercising their Second Amendment rights pulled up on them and went to that neighborhood and went to everybody's house. They went to the McMichael's house. They went to the house of the guy who shot the video. They went to the scene where the brother was shot, and they let him know. And apparently it was interesting in that the local police pulled up but decided they didn't want any parts of this. The Ku Klux Klan pulled up around the corner, but they didn't they didn't want any parts of it either. So, you know, it shows that you know, we have to be mindful that we still have to operate collectively if we want to get results. And if you know, armed militia can storm the state houses in Michigan and Kentucky, you know, well, you know, we got armed militia too, you know, and you know, it has an effect. So these are interesting times.
I would be concerned because, you know, I know how I would be concerned because I know how we are when we get mad.
Well, the thing about
I'm just saying, I'm just throwing
that
out there.
I share your concern.
Because when
the
we get mad, that's it.
The brothers who rolled up is most of them were ex-military, so they're very disciplined. They're, you know, and they're very smart in terms of understanding where the line is. Because if we cross even 1 millimeter over the line, all of a sudden we get criminalized. So they know.
Well, I ain't concerned about that part, Bob. I'm all right with them showing up. I'm good with all that. I like that.
Right.
I'm just concerned that when we get mad, we really get mad.
Well, we are mad.
That's all I'm saying.
That's the point, you know.
I'm saying. They don't know, Bob. I'm saying that to you because me and you understand that. I don't think those other people who've been running around here acting like they're in charge of everything, and like Obama said, you know, who have nice fancy titles, I don't think they understand what that means.
Right. Well,
I don't think they know.
That's I agree. I agree.
You know, and what I would be even more concerned. I want to interrupt. I would be even more concerned, Bob, if some of our Spanish brothers got mad with us at the same time. I don't want that, Bob.
Well, you know, the interesting thing when you say Spanish brothers, that's a very wide category, and they're more diverse than we are. So you really, you know, people look at them as a monolith, but I think you really have to look at them. in segments, because you have Puerto Ricans, you have Dominicans, you have Mexicans, and you have a bunch of different South Americans from different countries, and they all have very, very different, and Cubans. They're all very, very different in terms of their outlook, in terms of how they align themselves. Puerto Ricans, especially Puerto Ricans here in New York, generally, we have affinity with them. I mean, Black and Puerto Rican in Uptown, you see, most of the time, Blacks have Puerto Ricans in their family, and Puerto Ricans have Blacks in their family, and that's New York. You go to Miami, it's Cuban, and a lot of them are Republicans. So it's and Mexicans, they're in a whole different space. South Americans, depends on the country. So, I think that people throw them into a category, but there's actually several subcategories. I'm going to go on mute for a second with you because I've got to do the 0930 report, and then I will be back.
We want to hear it. We want to hear it.
Okay.
We want to hear it.
All right.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Okay.
Don't mute me. I want to hear it.
No, I'm only muting you here on the Zoom so I don't feed back.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
It's time for our message of the day. Today is May 18th, 2020. The temperature is 57 degrees Fahrenheit. High is expected to be 69 degrees and cloudy today. A reminder that we are also broadcasting live on the WEBT After Action Report. You can find that broadcasting live on YouTube. Search for WEBT After Action Report 5.18.20. Reminder that tomorrow at Tuesday, we have our 2100-hour conference call, weekly conference call. That is an invite call. You should already have that information. Reminder that Harlem Emergency Network members can invite guests to join the call at 2130. Reminder that Wednesday morning, we will be broadcasting our weekly Harlem Emergency Network COVID-19 update live on Facebook and YouTube, facebook.com/Harlem Emergency Network, and the YouTube Harlem Emergency Network channel. I think we will be talking a little bit more about the Kawasaki syndrome that has been a side disease that is also part of the COVID-19 problem. And we will be talking about how the numbers have come out that young Black boys are having more incidents of this than other demographics. And we also may have an update on COVID-19 and the prison situation. So we'll keep posted for that. Reminder that our amateur radio training continues this Wednesday, also on Zoom, and Harlem Emergency Network members who have that information. Also, check your email because we will be sending out information and invite to our HEN Virtual Operations Center, where we will be using that as a repository for pertinent information, including class trainings and links to our various online conference calls and Zooms. So that is our message for the day. We'll be repeating it once more at 10:00. And this is Network Control. Will be standing by for radio checks for any and all stations. Network control standing by.
All right, I'm back.
Okay, Bob, I'm back. Sorry. I'm back too.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got to turn you back up. I turned you down.
Turn up a little bit.
Back here.
Oh, let me turn.
All right. So it's just us this morning, huh?
There you go, Bob. Can you hear me now?
Where's Brother Stu?
Stu, we are, you know, he's we had a big a project yesterday that we had to get done, so I think he's
sleeping, isn't he? He's sleeping in.
Yeah, I don't know if he's sleeping in, but he's, you know, he hasn't called in yet. I know we were working on something till like 11.
All right, well, you know, I'm teasing him. The brother works hard. He deserves a break every now and then, right?
No, I don't agree with that.
No, okay.
Hell to the no. Get your behind. Need to get up like the rest of us and keep this thing moving, because this is some serious stuff we're doing.
Absolutely.
I mean, so, but you know, also, Bob, you know, today we're just, as I told you, we're also audio streaming on some of the websites, because I wanted to be able to test out how effective we can be with all of our various ways of communicating. Now, a lot of tools are open up to us, and principally the fact that people, you know, need to, you got to have, you know, network connectivity. So as you know, that's one of the things that one of the little tools that we've been, you know, collectively using along with you guys to help people to, you know, get on the network. And it's been our notion for quite a number of years that people shouldn't have to pay to visit municipal sites. You shouldn't have to pay a third party to visit, you know, NYC sites or DOE sites. And those things should be free. So we've, instead of talking about it, we've been going around, you know, as you already know, putting stuff in as many places as who allow us. And of course, that's humanly possible to make sure that people are, you know, getting access to free network services, which, you know, most of our services are FREE, which is one of the reasons why we like hanging out with the hen guys, because the hen guys, yourself and the rest of your crew, are much like us. You guys like to provide services to people for, you know, little or nothing in terms of monetary stuff. So, you know, I'm just giving myself a pat on the back and giving you guys a pat on the back for the stuff that we continue to come up with. You know, I want to say this, you know, we back about, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago, we snagged a huge contract from David Patterson, who was then the governor. And he gave a non-minority contract, which really caused a lot of consternation around the state.
I'm sure it did.
Pretty funny story. But the thing about it, you know, the point I just wanted to make was, besides the comedy of it all, of what happened when they found it out, we really put Wi-Fi in a whole bunch of locations. I think we installed, because we was working with HPD, and it was a 4-year project or something like that. And we wound up installing like 650 nodes around the city. And for some reason, when Cuomo came in, they didn't think the shit was important. They didn't, I mean, and so it showed me that our group, you know, us collectively, were a little ahead of our time when we did all of this. When they would have used their noodle, they would have understood that right now, all those locations, those people would have been having the free services that they need. They didn't think it made any sense to continue the free service. And you've seen us put stuff in many, you know, our group
Right.
put stuff in a lot of places. For some reason, they think that at that time they didn't think that stuff was important. But I bet you they don't think that shit now.
Right. Well, yeah, it's pretty short-sighted, and you know, Cuomo has not, to me, ever shown that he has a particular, you know, interest in what happens in our communities. You know, I give him plenty of credit for his COVID-19 response, but you know, it's only to a point. You know, I'm not ready to quote Big Bill Parcells. Let's not bring out the anointing oil just yet.
Or as Dennis Green said, the head coach of the Arizona, whatever that team is in Arizona, said, "Let's crown him the goddamn king."
Mm-hmm.
They are who thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we feel. So you know, you can't crown these cats because they finally do something right.
Right.
And to me, the idea is to try to do as many things right as you can.
Right.
And then when they do one thing right, like, okay, I'm being honest about the COVID, which only was made a whole lot of sense because of the dishonesty of the Republicans. I'm calling them. Well, I used to call them the Republicans. Now I'm calling them the Rebukelicans.
Yeah.
The Rebukelicans, who they should be rebuked for. I mean, you can even get one of those guys that voted for the voting rights bill. Now, one Republican voted for the voting rights bill, bro. I'm just, you know, my point is that no matter what your affiliation is or what you believe in, how could you be against the voting rights bill?
Well, yeah, just because.
I mean, you know what I mean? Come on.
The disingenuous is that they want to wave the flag and shout patriotism, but when it comes time to doing anything such as adhering to the tenets of the actual Constitution, the tenets of the Bill of Rights, the tenets of the Declaration of Independence, you know, the letter and spirit of the law, they're just like, well, no, never. That's not really important to us, and that's why we're in the position where we're at, where we have an, you know, essentially non-functional government, and
no leadership.
You know, we used to be the global leader, and now the rest of the world is like saying, you know, thanks, you know, we've had enough, and
you can't have.
and in the short-sightedness, have not realized that the rest of the world doesn't really need America anymore because all the great technology is available to them. We're not manufacturers, so they're not buying anything from us. The only thing that they're buying from us is entertainment, intellectual property. So they're still buying our films, TV, and music.
Correct.
But other than that, they could give America whatever. You know, it's like America's hot right now. It's like, I don't think we need to take the trip to New York. We'll go somewhere else, you know.
Hey, Bob, I read an article just the other day online where they were bemoaning the fact that the tech giants don't make anything. They do exactly what you just said. They don't.
Well, yeah, they exploit. You know,
that's right.
Like, this is what I love that these folks always. They're always able to take the most evil of intents and come up with innocuous language for it. So they're disruptors. They're disruptors. It's innovation and it's disruption. Yes, disruption. Yeah, you're disrupting somebody else's money and you're re-rupting it into your own bank account.
Thank you.
What does Uber do? You know, what does Airbnb do? All they do is they're using technology to basically disintermediate a market and take money away from both the buyers and the sellers.
All right, Bob, hold on, Bob. Was that a SAT word?
Absolutely, it was a SAT word.
Say that again. Can you repeat that word one more time?
Disintermediate. Yeah.
I like that shit. Hey, Bob, I resemble that remark, and they do it all the time.
Well, and to quote Lauryn Hill, every now and then I throw a motherfucker in there so the ignorant niggas can hear me. So
not you saying that. That's well, you know, the funny part, Bob, is that in this article that I was reading to continue, they were mentioning how, like you said, they disintermediate, whatever that word you use, they do that. And at the same time, when there was a time for things to be built and needed, they couldn't do it. And in fact, the billionaires all of a sudden decided, oh, I'm going to help. When at the same, currently, you have a economy that has Wall Street doing great, and 36 million people lose their jobs in 6 weeks.
Well, and you know what's in effect now, and the term is called disaster capitalism. And disaster capitalism, which even your boy Warren Buffett talks about, is that when markets are down, that's the time to buy. So the people who have, they call it dry powder. They love times like this because now all the assets they can get really cheap. So right now,
wait a minute. Hold on, Bob. For those following along at home, dry powder means lots of cash. They call their cash dry powder. Continue.
Right. Because they use their cash for war. That's why that analogy is so interesting, is that they use war metaphors for capitalism, and capitalism is literally a war. They look at it as there are people who feel like they can't be winning unless someone else is losing. And so in a time like this, people swoop in to buy assets. Now let's talk about disaster capitalism here in New York State. So, we started out a few minutes ago talking about how we were not ready to put the anointing oil on our governor, but we might pour some hot oil on top of his head. And here's a couple of things that I noticed that lately, as a result of all this, he comes out with these innocuous announcements about these billionaires who are going to help us out of all this. And so there are 3 of them. There is Bloomberg, who is coming in to help do the contact tracing, which is ostensibly contact tracing is part of the pandemic playbook. But the problem with contact tracing is it's also a big data collection. It's also about collecting data and privacy. And so we have to be really careful when we talk about contact tracing. Who's doing the contact tracing? Where is the data going? I'm a little bit concerned with that. So we have that one billionaire there. Let me stop you. Also, whenever a billionaire steps in with a philanthropic exercise such as this, there's always a profit motive that's usually connected to it. So we need to kind of X-ray all these things and see what is exactly going on. The second one was Bill Gates, who is supposed to come on to help reimagine the New York City school systems. And I'm a little bit leery about that too. Number one, you're no more an expert on education policy than you are an expert on viruses. So
Bob, let me stop. Hold on 1 second. Number one, you said that you were worried about contact tracing, right?
Yes.
So, okay, I just wanted to throw this in for for everyone's edification, that what they always say very softly after contact tracing is quarantine. Means that you're going to have to go somewhere and be away from others, like jail or something like that. So so I mean, you could see with this kind of an administration what that could mean. So let's go to number 2. You were talking about education. Continue, Bob.
Right. Hold on. That is your partner.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
This is network control. Go ahead. I hear you loud and clear. Over.
WEBT Unit 2 calling network control for radio check. Command. WEBT Unit 2, I hear you loud and clear. How do you read me? Over. WEBT Unit 2, I read you loud and clear. How do you read me? Oh.
WEBT Unit 2, calling network control, not reading you. Can you read me? Okay.
WEBT Unit 2, I read you loud and clear. 5 by 5. How do you read me? Over.
Network control, WEBT Unit 2, your level is extremely muted. Over.
WEBT Unit 2, that's a copy. I'm not sure why that is. I've been on network control all morning and have gotten 5 by 5. But I do read you loud and clear. Over.
That's good copy network control. I'll check my device and make sure I don't have a setup issue. My condition is safe and sound. Location, shell. Over and out.
That's a copy, WEBT Unit 2, network control standing by the 1000. Also, I'm on the WEBT after action report as well as we speak. Network control standing by the 1000.
Network control, network control. This has been on 100 network control. Over.
Network control, Illinois 1, I read you loud and clear. How do you read me? Over.
Network control, even though I read you 5 by 5, your volume has been very low all day. So it was not WEBT. Your volume has been low all day. And some of us, I guess, was able to hear you, and some of us was not able to hear you. But your volume is very low. I am in Fishkill, New York, and my situation is safe. Over.
Okay, that's a copy of Illinois 1. Next time, tell me earlier, and I'll try to do the adjustments. So network control standing by to 1000, when I'll be giving the message of the day once more, and then I will be off the air, but on the WEBT after action report. Network control standing by.
Okay, Bob. All right, Bob.
All right. So yeah, we were talking about disaster capitalism.
We getting some
Feedback.
okay. That me or you? Yeah. Okay. Who's doing it? Hold on. Maybe that's me, Bob.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, Bob, you were a little low speaking on the thing earlier, but it did not affect what we were doing. What I usually do in the after action report is I play back all of at the end of the session, in case anyone, I play back all of the radio controls, radio calls. I play them back at the end. So in case you might have missed them or missed their radio thing, they will all, I always attach that to the end of the cast. So people won't miss them. Now go ahead.
we were just talking about, so now Gates comes in, and he has the opportunity to so-called reimagine the schools, but there's been no talk about actual parents and community being brought to the table when this reimagining occurs. And I get very, very nervous when billionaires who also have huge interest in their own technology platform now have unfettered access to the state to be able to redesign things. And they're just, I'm not really a fan of a number of the moves that Bill Gates and his foundation has been making over the years. So I am extremely skeptical and nervous of these types of interactions from the governor. Where were these people, in mid-March and April, when everybody is struggling to just get through this crisis? These billionaires weren't offering any services, but now that it's time to come through the so-called rebuilding time, which is always when the money is distributed, the billionaires show up first in line to be able to implement their agendas. So that's what disaster capitalism is. And we obviously have to keep our eye on it.
Well, Bob, again, the notion that, I was telling someone yesterday that about the Detroit Lions and Barry Sanders and Megatron, where they executed the clawback. And so these guys signed for, their signing bonuses, and they decided to retire midstream before the contract was up. And the clawback was the Detroit Lions went after them to get back the signing bonuses.
Wow. And
I'm thinking that they should be using that technique on the billionaires, because I don't see why anybody should have $56 billion. One person should have $56 billion. I don't see the point. And I can see the point of having $5 billion or whatever, but $56 billion, where the shift from the capital and the economy has shifted to the top upper echelons. So if you're going to look at capitalism, and you mentioned schools, if you're going to look at capitalism, you're going to have to look at what do you do with advanced capitalism. One of my theories is that one of the reasons why sports as an analogy, one of the reasons why sports really works, because there's a new season every year. So the same people don't keep winning. In the capitalism game, the winners keep winning. And the season of winning never stops. And you can't have a competition, because that's what capitalism is in some ways, where the winners keep winning. Sooner or later, the people that lose are going to get tired. And so every time there is an issue, here comes the billionaires using their resources that they've allocated and figured out how to get to help themselves, or to supposedly helping us. And I don't understand. When we had this conversation about the educational system, which we all have different views about how those things function. But I don't see how come every time there's a problem, and like you said, here they march in the same winners, and they come up with a way that allows them to keep winning.
Oh, Doug, you're wrong, man. Those are public-private partnerships.
Your sarcasm is showing, Bob.
I'm a great fan of the late George Carlin, who was one of the great satirists, and he used his humor to really talk about the American condition. But he loved language, but he loved to talk about basically nonsense language. And I think I've inherited some of that. When I hear certain terms, I have my brain translates them back into English, So like even like early on in this, when this pandemic was coming in, I started to listen to some of the words that they used, and like, so they had a term called community spread, and so community spread means you're screwed because basically that's the term for, we don't know where the virus came from, we can't contact trace it, it's everywhere. But they have, you know, they have ways of taking something that's really bad, but they give it a, you know, a very, very, you know, warm and friendly term. And I heard another one that this is a medical one, myocardial myocardial something, which is basically a heart attack. You couldn't just say heart attack, you know, but yeah. So I just love how they always come up with a nice warm and fuzzy term to indicate when you really got problems.
Right. Now, other thing, I know you're getting ready to do number 3, but before you go to number 3, Bob, yes, I want to just make this other point about the number 2 thing, how yes, they continue to only talk, how they try to make the case that people with money are not stupid. Mm-hmm. That if you have money, there's no way in the world that you're a dummy. Right. There's no way in the world that you're an idiot or illogical or any of those things because you have money. And mm-hmm, I think that is a false. That's a big falsehood. Yeah. Yes. And they try to get everybody to buy into that. Mm-hmm. And people do, because people feel, you know, again, they want to crown the king. And, you know, Bill Gates was somebody who is not a genius. He was a guy who was in the right place at the right time. You know, his fortune was created by a misstep by IBM Corporation. IBM. You know, unbelievable misstep. Yeah, a big giant like that, right, taking the kind of missteps that allow him to get in. Right. And it was, you know, he was at the right place at the right time when there was a change in direction in technology. The big company, in their arrogance, didn't pick up on it and allowed him to become the big company. You know. Correct. So, and that's all he did, by the way. He became the big company. He didn't, right, you know, democratize. That's all he did. He didn't do an economic community spread, which is probably what we're in need of today. Right. An economic community spread. Right. All right, give me a second. I'm going to do the last report, and then I'll be back on. Okay. Okay.
Washing hands frequently, wearing a mask, and maintaining the 6 feet distance from others. Please be safe. God bless, and have a great week.
This is the last of our radio check, but we will continue to be on the WEBT After Action Report that is live on YouTube as well. Temperature today is 57 degrees. The high is expected to be 69 degrees and cloudy. Reminder that tomorrow we have a 2100-hour conference call weekly, and that Harlem Emergency Network members can invite guests to that call for 2130. Reminder that Wednesday morning we will be broadcasting our weekly Harlem Emergency Network COVID-19 update that will be live on Facebook and YouTube, facebook.com/Harlem Emergency Network, and the YouTube Harlem Emergency Network channel. We will be talking about Kawasaki syndrome further. We will also probably be talking about COVID-19 in the prison system. Reminder that our amateur radio class training continues on Wednesday at 1800 hours, 6 p.m., also on our Zoom as well. Reminder to our Harlem Emergency Network members to check your emails for invitations to our virtual operations center where we're going to be putting information for our trainings and links to our various Zooms and conference calls. This is the last message for the day. If you have a radio check, get it in within the next 60 seconds or so. Otherwise, everyone have a great day. This is Hen 1 operating as network control for WQKJ 301 Harlem Emergency and Information Network. The time now is 10:03. Network control is out.
GH1 to Mobile 10.
GH1 to Mobile 10. I'll call you on the line. I got your message. Over. All right, Bob, I'm back.
Okay.
I got a phone call quick for that. I'm good. Okay, so you talked about you left, you were at number 2. I think you said there were 3 different
there was a third one. I'm trying to think of who the third one was.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I thought you were gonna say Eric Smith.
Eric Smith. There it is. Yes.
Cool.
Thank you. And what was this Smith supposed to be doing? All I know is he's the Google guy, but I think he stepped down as CEO. But
not anymore, right? That's right. But he's a billionaire though.
Right. Listen, here's an interesting thing going on too, is that on the one hand, you see the disaster capital billionaires making moves, but before this thing, there was a number of CEOs who stepped down and people who were retired and people started cashing out of things. And that's always interesting to watch the moves of people like that, because one of the things about these billionaires is that because they have such control over mainstream media, no one is really checking them or on what they're doing. So, but I just find it interesting when all of a sudden, all these CEOs say now it's time to retire, or now we're kind of cashing out our chips, so we're doing something differently. And it always is like, well, what's really going on? So even Jack Ma, who was the head of SoftBank, is now stepping down. So
Bob. Look how much money they lost. They lost $13 billion in their investments.
Well, they were stupid. I mean, a lot of that was Uber.
That's just why. That's just why, Bob. You're just saying why they lost all the money. It's almost immaterial that someone would have that amount of money to lose.
Oh yeah. But it goes back to what you said, is that people crown them as geniuses, but a lot of times, when you have enough money, you don't have to be a genius, because the power of the money will carry you over. And even if you make a mistake, you're still rich. So, SoftBank took a bath on WeWork, and that was before the real estate crash of 2020. Yeah. But I mean, when you saw WeWork, it's like, how could anybody be investing in this stuff? It didn't make any sense,
Bob, I still go back to the premise, Bob. They had $13.8 billion to lose.
Yep.
Think about that. Think about what that money could have done to help. That's the thing. The other part I wanted to bring up on it is
Jeff Bezos. He's supposed to be worth now $145 billion.
Who?
Jeff Bezos, Amazon.
Well, again, Bob, that brings me to my point is that when you look at like how we get our information, you watch people get up there in front of the Lion King. That would be the president, the Lion King with a Y. and no one confronts, the media people in the room, they don't confront him. He says things to them that, you would not let anyone speak to you in that manner. I mean, when I hear him speaking to people, I'm not gonna, I don't allow people to speak in that manner.
I love the Chinese woman journalist who went right back at him last week,
and he left, and he walked out.
Chased him out of his own press conference.
All the time. They should do that all the time. They should confront him. When he says that someone's a terrible reporter, they should tell him, people think you're a terrible president. When he says the person's the nasty, people think you're a nasty president for locking kids in cages. When he says they don't do their job, probably people should tell them, you don't do your job and you lie all the time. How do you respond to that? They lose their objectivity by sitting there and taking it. And no one in the real world does that. No one stands around and let people. It's
basic. He's basically a bully, and usually
he's not even a bully, Bob. He's not a bully. I think he's a punk. I don't think he's a bully. I got more respect for bullies than what he's doing.
I mean, bullies usually pick on people who they feel like they can pick on, and usually it's not till somebody hits them in the mouth that they get exposed. And that was, the young Chinese journalist. She
punched him in the mouth. She punched him in the mouth.
Right.
Exactly. He ran out the room, man. He ran out a little. And she must have weighed 100 pounds soaking wet with 2 rocks in her pocket.
Wet. It was really great to see. She's like, wait. She's like, what'd you say to me? She got her head down. She pulled the mask down. She's like, wait a second. I want you to hear me. What did you say to me?
I thought you was going to jump up there.
When did this incident take place that you're talking about?
In the press. Hey, good morning, Stu.
Good morning. When did this incident take place? You're talking about the Asian report?
Last week.
Last week at his press conference.
Okay, I missed it.
Yeah.
I thought she was going to jump in there and do the Bruce Lee and said, I flow like water.
She asked him a question about.
I agree with you guys. It's about time.
She asked him a question, something along the order of why are you trying to make this a global competition when people in America are dying? And he looks her dead in the eye and says, well, people are dying anywhere, but if you have a question, ask China. And looks her dead in the eye, like,
wow,
like, you Chinese bitch, ask your people, and she went like, pulled the mask down. Wait, why are you saying that to me? And then he tried to back up and backpedal, and he tried to go to somebody else.
He walked out.
He just walked out.
Said, well, I want to hear what my friend had to say, and then he walked out the conference.
Right, that's right.
Wow.
Walked out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I don't, I'm only saying this from unlimited experience, from the big house. I've seen bullies, and he's not one of them. Usually most bullies that I've ran across, they usually have some sense of threat about them, not him. You know what I mean? I'm nitpicking, of course, but most of the bullies you see, they usually have some sort of something where you have to think twice before you try to go punch them in the face. You know what I mean?
You mean they have an intimidating presence?
They have something that makes you think for a second, should I do this or should I not? This is how they keep getting along with it. This is how they keep getting away with it. He doesn't have any of that.
Yes, he does, Doug. He has one very particular thing. He's the president of the United States.
Means nothing, Bob. He's brought it down to nothing. But that would be my opinion.
Nothing, but for the average person, who drinking the Kool-Aid,
you're not drinking.
I mean, and he's trying to run the presidency like he's the supreme leader. He said that. I mean,
well, he definitely acts like the HWIC. That's for sure. Yeah, for sure. There's no question about that. He brings new meaning to the HWIC, but still, I don't see him as a bully. That's just me. I don't see it. I don't see him.
I just want to ask a question, guys. I hope you don't mind me changing the subject, but I haven't watched the news in the last couple of days. Where are we with COVID in this region? Are we Are we still seeing a decline? Is it precipitous? What's the update? Yeah.
Well, I'll go on and look right now. I didn't really look too close over the weekend, but and generally I usually check at least every couple of days. The numbers.
You talking about New York City, Stu?
Yeah, I'm talking New York City. That's yeah. The
numbers have continued to decline even as they go up in other states. So let me kind of bring up some things and take a look at it. It's interesting. They have the New York Times has a data page where they not only have the national statistics, but they have kind of graphs of every state. So you can literally see New York State, definitely, you see it's like the classic flattening the curve. You see the curve up and then you see it go back down. So we've been definitely going down in all the major categories. We have not seen an uptick yet. And I'm just going to go online and just look at today and confirm that. Whereas states like Texas are on the uptick, Wisconsin, whose Supreme Court basically countermanded their own governor's stay-at-home order, they're on the uptick. You know, there's a lot of states who are going up while we're going down. So, you know, the good news for us is that, you know, by all, you know, review of the data, you know, we're definitely way past the worst of it. And so far, we have not seen an uptick. I think all of us would agree that the biggest thing we have to be concerned about now is that now that the weather is nice and people are going to be coming out, will we see, you know, any reoccurrence? We haven't seen it yet. And for the 3 public milestones that New York City has set.
Bob?
Yes?
Put it on the screen.
Okay, it's a little harder for me to do that. I'm on my iPad.
Hey, no, okay. Go ahead. That's okay. Go ahead.
I'm not really set up to do that, but
okay. Hey, go ahead.
Well, what I can do, if you want to hold for a second, I could log in on my desktop and then put it up on the screen, because it probably would be easier for us to show than to tell. So first, let me close a couple other things out.
I was thinking.
Let me.
Now, hey, Stuart, I'm glad you came back while Bob's doing that. I'm glad you came back in on, and you know, I wanted to, you know, give you a big thanks for putting together the stuff that I told Bob we had a thing to put together, and that you were probably sleeping in. Wink, wink. Wink, 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 you know. And that, you know, he said Stu should be allowed to sleep. I said, nah, get him out here. Get him out here. Stu, if you missed it, Stu, there was a big fire right across the street from the plaza where I was able to watch the fire on our
whoa, really?
Cameras. Yeah, over right across the street at Lazarus. And I was telling Bob before you came on earlier that the fire was so red and so hot that it didn't make sense. You know, the fire was so big and so red that you knew they wasn't, whatever they was trying to burn, whatever burnt wasn't gonna get unburnt. Wasn't putting that, man. I mean, it was huge, but red ball of fire, red. And no one's been in the building, you know, for weeks. The store's been closed, and now they caught fire.
Sounds a little suspicious.
We just kind of call that the street stimulus package.
Or insurance stimulus package.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's like Jake from State Farm.
Oh, Jake is hot. I gotta call you right back, Jack. Jake is kind of hot right now. So, I mean, it was a huge, there was, I would say 25, 30 fire trucks out there.
What?
It was that big, yeah, it was huge.
Whoa, wow.
Yeah, it was a big, bright, orange, burning fire. And here's the interesting thing, the fire was on a Sunday when you know, you would pretty much assume no one would be around.
Mm-hmm.
Any of the other buildings. How convenient. So if I was a fire marshal, or if I was fire
Oh
marshal,
man, you know they already started the investigation on that one.
yeah. I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I lived in an apartment building, when I was younger, and we had a fire in the building, and the only reason why we didn't get all burnt out is because luckily I came home, very late in the evening when the fire, in the night, in the early morning hours when the fire had started, and I walked in my house and I sat down on the couch, and the fire came just that quick. Normally we'd be back there sleeping with the kids, and the fire came, and we got everybody out and everything, and the lady whose apartment that fire started, once the fire marshals came, they had to, instead of investigate, they had to keep peace and order because everybody in the building wanted to, beat the crap out of the lady. They wanted to attack the person whose apartment was on fire because, ostensibly she was of dubious, her group was of dubious character, let me say, and people wanted to blame her, even if no one never knew she was that.
It's like, well, she's guilty of something.
Everybody, that's exactly what everybody was saying, because fire is such a debilitating scenario, because all your stuff smells like smoke, even stuff that's survivable. And the funny thing, I actually went into the building, into the apartment to try to get our cat on the urging of my kid's mother.
Your cat?
Well, I went in there, back in there. When I went in there, the fireman was in our apartment, and I was trying to help them pull the hose, and I seen one of the firemen in the refrigerator, man.
Like getting something to eat in the refrigerator.
He went in my refrigerator, and I said, "Man, get your ass out of there." True story. Dude, homie was looking in the refrigerator, man.
Wow.
Like smoke, the smoke wasn't billowing. Now they got it out of control. They just throwing water everywhere. You know what I mean? Well, and money was I said, wow, firemen, they go around looking for gifts.
First responder.
Yeah, they're looking for in the crib, and I caught him in there. I said, man, close that, man. I was a little beside myself. So you're not supposed to be in there. I said, no, you're not supposed to be in my refrigerator, baby. Shit off. I was really upset. So I learned from that there's some firemen who will be thirsty and hungry while they're putting out the fire. Just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there. Now the other thing is too. Now that we're talking about the COVID, because they were on TV on Morning Joe this morning, really lambasting the president's unhonesty and lack of response and lack of strategy. And of course, once the Obama thing came out with his high school and the college address, the president Trump, the Lion King, said that Obama was the most corrupt president in the history of the country.
Oh yeah, he's trying to make up this new scandal called Obamagate. And when they ask him for details, it's like, well, you know what it is.
He's gonna make up a lot of things because he, like I always say, he's gonna do what liars do, lie.
Yeah.
And he can't stop.
It looks like they got people in the waiting room, guys. Did you want to let them in?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
To let him in, Stu.
Okay.
Let Bob in the green room. Yeah. Bob coming in.
On this row.
All right. Now let's talk about Spike Lee. You know that movie, The Five Bloods?
What's up, bro?
Okay.
Hey, what's going on?
All right, where are you, man?
I'm a Morningside. Hold on a second.
Yeah, turn that camera around. We don't want to.
Hold on.
You're on Morningside. Are you over by the fire? Hey, bro, are you over by the fire?
I'm gonna kind of close.
You know the fire was 125th and 7th.
Hold over.
Ladies, for those of you who are watching at home, that is Rolando Hudson, the famous street reporter.
Oh, wait a minute. There we go. All right.
Yeah, that's Rolando Hudson, the famous street reporter. coming into the thing with his mic hot, with a hot mic.
How you doing?
Oh, we're doing fine, man. You know, are you over by the fire?
On morning. Oh yeah.
125th and 7th.
I'm gonna make the turn right on to 125th.
Yeah,
no.
the fire's on 7th
You can't
Avenue.
go down the block though.
Whoa, they got it blocked off still?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think they're only letting the buses through. I drove past it on the way up here.
Oh, you did? Oh, you was on 125th.
I had to go get some passport pictures.
Were you actually on 125th?
So I can make my exit.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Okay. That sounds personal, man.
So what's going on?
Nothing. We're actually Bob is trying to figure out what's going on with the COVID stimulus, and we're waiting for him.
Am I muted?
Huh?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
No, we might mute you, but we ain't muting Bob because Bob's getting ready.
I didn't hear anyone.
Okay, hold on, bro. He's starting to show us something on the screen. Hold tight. You should be able to see. You can't see it.
Well, I'm on 125th Street now.
Hold on, bro. Oh, can we see the fire? Hold on. It's right there.
Yeah.
Next block. So on the next corner.
Block. Yeah.
Yeah, right on there. No, not this one. The next one. That's 8th Avenue. Oh, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our on-the-scene mobile reporter, Mr. Rolando Hudson, driving towards where the scene of the very suspicious, not suspicious, but the very hot fire yesterday.
So let's see, we're getting something here.
Yeah.
Well, the wheel's turning.
That's it. That's all we got.
Yeah.
Are you at the fire yet, bro? Hold on for a second, Bob.
Yeah, I'm right at
the there we go. We got you, Bob.
Okay. You want me to stop screen sharing, you say?
Just for a second, because he's at the fire location in the car.
Okay. Pretty much stopping as slow as it started, but I do have a wheel turning.
Okay, there you go. Okay, bro. So where you at, bro?
I'm on 125th and 7th Avenue.
Oh, I see that. Do they have it blocked? Can you go down that next block? Oh, they got it blocked off, huh?
They got it blocked off. They're letting the buses through.
Wow.
I could show you a little bit more of it there. That's where it is.
So we're looking east on 125th Street, and the fire location's on the right side of the street, correct?
See it right there?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we see it. Oh yeah, you pulling right up to it.
Okay.
Oh, they telling you to turn. Yeah.
See?
Wow. Yeah, we saw it. Yeah.
All right.
Wow. Hey Rolando, you need your little, take out your press pass, baby. Bro, you need to take out your press pass and show them who you are. It looks like he's leaving the car.
Well, Doug, do you have any footage from the fire that you can show us?
No, Bob. We don't want to get into that, Bob.
Okay. Why not, man? You're the wizard.
We don't want to go there.
Are they saying the fire is suspicious?
No,
we're saying the fire is suspicious.
We're saying that.
Oh, okay.
Aren't you suspicious about a fire on Sunday in a retail space that's been closed for 2 months?
Yeah. It burnt pretty bad. It burnt pretty bad. Did you see it?
We saw it like looked like the whole thing is out.
The number one cause of fire are human activity.
Wow. Human activity. Oh, yeah. Wow.
When's the last time you saw a spontaneous fire and no humans around? You don't see any dogs and cats playing with matches or leaving the stove on.
Well, hey, Bob, there is a notion of self combustion where things combust on their own, given the right condition, Bob. That is, kind of.
Oh yeah, spontaneous combustion. Yeah, that happens all the time. I saw that movie.
No, it doesn't happen all the time. I don't know if you remember this, but I remember doing our training at Con Edison, they were talking about a phenomenon where the electricity would actually move around without the wires. I know you remember that, Stu. That was pretty crazy. You remember that?
I do.
So we were stunned with it. Was the guy that we were at Con Edison for some training, and they were telling us how there's electricity that can move around some enclosure without any wires. How about that? They didn't have any video though. They didn't have video of that, but the guy got up. They have this facility out in Long Island City on the water.
Isn't that the one where the blue light? We got the blue light.
Yes, where that big fire was. That's exactly right, Bob. Yeah, that was pretty amazing. I thought we were being. I thought there was some sort of invasion.
The alien invasion. Look, it was nighttime and it was daytime. It was
It was blue daytime too, Bob. It was blue daytime.
Blue daytime. Yeah.
Crazy. In the middle of the night.
That's right.
And I remember somebody was on the Hen Network. Some guy going there. I got on the Hen Network and I asked him. I said, "Does anybody see it?" And the guy says, "I'm on Lenox Avenue." I can't believe what I'm looking at. It was what a phenomenon. I don't think you saw that in New Rochelle.
No, did not. Heard about it. Read about it.
Yeah.
Was listening to the radio reports, but no visual.
They had video. Eventually, they had video of
the video was not like seeing it. The video did not capture it, and there was reason for people to be scared because it was definitely something you'd never seen before.
It was scary,
and it's like because it was night, and then all of a sudden it was daytime.
It was blue.
It was blue daytime, and
you kept saying, "What is that?
What is that?"
Yeah, it's huge.
Wow, so it like lit up the whole sky.
Whole sky.
It was, wow. And it's like maybe 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and it was blue.
It was.
You saw it great from your window, from your perspective, Bob.
Absolutely, yeah.
Saw it great. I know that.
Yeah.
So I can see it from my window. I was going like, wait. I'm sitting around. I looked up. I said, "What is that?"
Right.
He had no boom or nothing. You just saw that the sky was blue. I mean, artificially blue.
Yeah.
So, what an interesting phenomenon.
All right, so you got okay.
So let's go with the screen. Let's go with Stu's question.
All right, hold on. Let me.
Bob is going to go back and re-engage the screen share function
using my state-of-the-art slow technology.
Well, Bob. You have a reputer. You don't have a computer. You have a reputer.
Yeah, and
I got that from my neighbor who would always knock on my door and go, "Doug, can you come over to my house and check my reputer?" Okay.
Right.
I was going, "Why don't you correct him?" I was going, "That sounds better. Reputer sounds so cool."
I was trying to get down with some of that streaming university bandwidth, but
Bob, Bob, remember we were only held out because of the COVID.
Yeah, I'm gonna go along with that.
Rolando, you heading back to the Bronx?
Yeah.
Now, Rolando, you were out. Oh, you're getting your. Are you going on? You going on a new adventure, Rolando? Is that why you're out getting your passport?
Yeah, I had to do a friend a favor, make some copies. And
wow, that must be a good friend.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I was able to. She's doing a free food on a corner of 116th and Manhattan. She has a
Okay.
refrigerator out there, and so I just had to give her some the non-profit. Made some copies of the non-profit status.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so she could give to vendors to get free food.
Gotcha.
She
Rolando,
put a
looks like a lot of traffic out there, Rolando.
Yeah, well, they started alternate side of street parking again, starting today for the rest of the week.
Yeah,
So
that's
what's that
right.
mean?
What they're doing, they're only doing it for this week, and then they're going back because they haven't cleaned the streets in like 2 months. So I
Yeah.
think it's today through the end of the week, and then next week it's going to be suspended again.
Well, why would you attribute off or whatever that is to all the cars out there?
People are moving around.
Okay.
That's all. I mean, they were moving around this weekend.
Gotcha.
I mean, this weekend was pretty busy.
I'm looking at the car. I see a lot of cars out there. It looks like a normal.
Yeah, but it's not normal. This normal would be packed. I wouldn't be going through like this.
That's right.
Right. Because what's happened
you know,
is people haven't really gone back to work yet, but people are definitely moving around. And I believe
you're not talking about the people at Lazarus, that's for sure.
They're not going back to work. No.
Think about it. There's no more Lazarus. That's a big black hole.
Wait a second. It's called Lazarus. That means it might rise from the dead.
Oh, come on.
That's biblical, Doug. You might not know nothing.
Yeah, he probably don't know about that.
Hey, I resemble that remark.
All right, I'm trying one more time. If it doesn't work this time, I'm just going to read it to you guys.
Here we go. We got it.
All right, we got it. All right, so public health milestones. Now, if I could just scroll down. Come on, old Nelly. Come on. All right, so the first milestone that they've talked about is wanting to be below 200 admittance a day in the New York City hospital system. We have been below 100 for some time. The chart only shows the last 10 days, but I can tell you it's probably been at least 20 days now that we've been below 200 on the hospitalization. And that continues to be trending downwards, as it seems. So that's probably, that's a very good thing. And you can see even there from 5/6/15 to 5/16. Now, the downward trend on from 15 to 16 is not necessarily indicative, because one of the things that I've noticed in looking at the data is that hospitalizations always go down on Saturday and Sunday. And then they pop up again on Monday. So that's a consistent theme that we've seen.
Is that a function of reporting, do you think, Bob?
I just think it's a function of hospital. Hospitals generally have less staff on weekends, and I don't know why it is, but I saw very clearly that every Friday and Saturday there was a dip in hospitalization, and then it went back up on Monday. But the general trend, as you see, has continued to be downward, and so that's obviously a good thing. Now let's take a look at the other two.
Hey, Bob, I just want to throw in there while you're taking the pause for a second, that I believe the reason why that is that on Saturday and Sunday, they have the residents in there. And if you want to get some good care, you got to go do Monday through Friday when the big shots are there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that there's probably a number of reasons why people are like, well, I'll wait till Monday to go in, because usually for a number of reasons that why somebody would be hospitalized, they would not necessarily go in on the weekend. Usually elective surgeries and those things don't happen on the weekend. So.
And all the best doctors are not there on Saturday and Sunday, Bob. They're home.
Mm-hmm. Or they're playing golf with the president.
Correct.
Okay. The second page is coming up. Slowly.
Screen thing, Bob. Bob, we're not getting any screen sharing.
Yeah, I mean.
No, it's there. It's just a blank screen.
Right.
Yeah. Don't click on the wrong stuff, Bob.
No, I'm on the right page. It's just loading slowly. My computer is
it's a repute.
You know, mad about having to work on Monday morning.
He has a reputer, Stu.
Yeah.
When it's going slow, it means it's reputing, not computing.
I'm wondering if I can do it from. Okay, let's see. We got
there
something.
It is, Bob.
There it is. And now. Come on, Doug. Keep the people entertained while I'm scrolling.
Hey, Bob, I was going to say there's a testing location on 127th Street, right in front of the St. Nicholas Projects, right in front of right there on 127th for 7th. They have a testing location for those of you at home.
All right, that's good to know. Do you know what kind of test they're doing?
They got a tent there and they asking people to come in and get tested. I don't know if they're getting tested because you're sick or they're tested for the antibodies, or as NYU has already said, the Abbott rapid testing that the president used is not it's not that good. It's no good. They wouldn't use it in their house.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah. Another shocker, right?
Yeah, big shocker.
Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna talk through this stuff while my soon-to-be replaced reputer is loading. So there are 3 milestones. The second milestone is what are the number of people in critical care in New York hospitals. They were looking for that to be below 375. We are still above that. Last I looked, it was more like maybe 450 or 500. So it's inching down toward that, but we have not broken that line yet. The third one was testing, where they wanted to see the number of people who are testing positive on a daily basis to be less than 15%. We are definitely below that, but I don't think we've necessarily done it for 10 days yet. So out of the 3 public milestones, we are firmly in one. We dipped our toe in the third one, and the one in the middle we're still working on. But all of the numbers are trending down, so that's good. So I would say that we're definitely in a lot better shape than we were a month and a half ago. And so we just need to keep an eye on the numbers to make sure we don't see a reoccurrence.
So Bob, when we hit these 3 milestones, what happens then?
Well, according to what it says on the site, these are the milestones that New York City is saying they want to hit before they open everything up to people who are not at risk.
Open everything, or is there a phased plan?
Well, all right, let me just read it exactly what it says. Or you can see it there. New York City is closely monitoring key public health signs to determine when certain social physical distancing restrictions will be lifted for people who are not at high risk for serious complications. And, again, so the timing are depending on those 3 attributes: hospital admissions, critical care capacity, and positive test rates. So this is the data that the city are looking at before they probably, I would say, before they call city workers back to work and kind of reopen the city. They're going to want to see these standards in place and hit these milestones and keep these milestones for at least 10 days straight. So I think that approach makes a lot of sense. Because it takes 10 days to really know what's really going on. And so if we have a 10-day period of being below these milestones, then we're pretty good.
Now, do we know how consistent or coordinated these milestones are with the governor and the New York on Pause initiative?
Sometimes the city and the state play well, and sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
But I know that this has been up on their site for quite a while now. I haven't seen any indication that there's any disruption between what the state is doing, what the city is doing. I would say that we probably have more stringent standards than the rest of the state because we have obviously had the worst impact here. And we also have the highest density. So, but I don't know more specifically than that, how they're coordinating with the state.
Okay.
But the short answer is we're doing a lot better, and the numbers are going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So my personal feeling, and this is only my own judgment, not going by anyone else. I feel that we're gonna continue to see people with masks in public for the next going into June and July. And if the numbers continue to go down, we'll gradually through the summer see a lot of people go back to what they were doing. I think we are already seeing people not wearing masks, but we're seeing a lot of people who do have the masks on and are still doing the social distancing. I think we're going to have to see once they make an official declaration, there are probably going to be some sort of standards of social distancing that might be for businesses, churches, and places where people are gathering. And we'll have to see what those are. And there's probably going to be a big negotiation between tenants and commercial tenants and landlords, because that's going to be a mess.
A big mess. Because, they're going to be asking.
The big tenants who have a lot of clout have already let landlords know that we're renegotiating our leases. Starbucks came out with a very nice statement saying, we want to work with landlords, and we're all about fairness, but we basically you are going to change our lease.
Hey, Rolando.
Yeah.
You're a real estate agent, a licensed real estate guy. How do you think they're going to resolve the way that people haven't paid their rent? What's the skin?
I don't know. I know commercial leases that they're talking about making them shorter now. It's the days of the 10-year leases are going to be kind of dead now because of the whole COVID situation. So commercial leases, once they get off the ground running, it's going to be like 3-year leases. They're not offering 10-year leases anymore. I know that. Some of the bigger companies just decided not to pay. Like I think it was Equinox. They closed all their places, and they weren't paying like 2 months rent on all their places, which amounted to like 300 places that they had. And as far as that, retail business doesn't seem like that's coming back. From what I'm hearing, the last places that they're going to open up in New York are going to be the hair salons, the gyms, the restaurants, nail salons, all those salons, all that people contact things. That's going to be the last of it that that they're going to open up to the public again. Yeah, as far as that's concerned, yeah, the whole scheme of commercial real estate is going to be changed a lot.
Well, they're going to have to work out. There's going to have to be people brought to the table, because those businesses are not going to be able to reopen under the conditions that they left. You can't go to a nail salon that's been closed for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months and say, okay, you can reopen, but A, you're going to have to pay back rent for all those months, and B, because then retail businesses are going to have to basically find out if they still have customers before they even start committing any new resources to it. And most of those businesses did not get any of that stimulus money. All that PPP money went to big corporations, and it went like a flash. By the time the smaller businesses even got their applications in, the money was all gone.
Hey, Stu, sounds like to me that, and I don't know, Ronaldo might know better, if these commercial leases, they don't have a force majeure clause in there, they're going to wish they did.
Yeah, I remember at least the commercial leases that we did. You're absolutely right, Doug. They always had a force majeure clause in them, and I would think this, if nothing else, is a force majeure situation, act of God, just kind of changing everything that would make the payments null and void. I'm sure it will be litigated though.
There's going to be a lot of litigation, and I expect litigation and legislation.
Yeah.
For those that
I'll be right
know
back.
what it is, why don't you tell them what the force majeure is?
Force majeure is an act of God or nature that is beyond the control of human beings, that disrupts the normal flow of activity. And when that happens, conditions in contracts are null and void and or subject to renegotiation.
So everybody's going to invoke the force majeure contract because this thing is nobody's fault. But I think Bob's right. There's going to be some litigation because some people are going to make the case that, the government did it and it wasn't the act of God. But, that's I would say that's nitpicking.
If the city is smart, they will pick somebody to basically get in a room and sit down with landlords and tenants and try to figure out, negotiate a settlement, because landlords need tenants, or else what's the point of having the building?
Hey, Bob, I don't think that's going to happen, Bob. I think that's what judges do, and that's what courts do. They do that, and I'm pretty sure if somebody owes you a lot of money, you ain't gonna want to listen to some guy in the room because it's not binding. You want to try to get it in front of a judge.
Yeah, but look at it like this way: they're not going. If these businesses are going belly up, what's the point of going to court? You're not going to collect.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that I think if I'm a business person, I'd rather take my chance at court than to have some independent person, because we don't have to listen to that person. You need somebody that's
but that's not what I was saying. I'm saying get the landlords and tenants together at the table and have somebody from the city kind of arbitrate to try to work out some terms that make some sense, because landlords have a point, but tenants have a point, and the bottom line is landlords need tenants and tenants need landlords. If you're running a business, if you don't have a space to operate the business is dead. But the landlord, if they don't have tenants, their business is dead. Right now, everybody's business is dead, and we're trying to talk about how do we restart it. So,
people are going to be trying to get out of there. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bob.
If we just let it go into just turning into a massive litigation, all we're going to do is we're going to have a bunch of individual cases that clog up the courts, and the ones with the best lawyers are going to win, and everybody else is going to get screwed. And it's no way that we're going to, the way I see it is like the Starbucks of the world will get something going because we know that they've got the resources that they can reopen, but they're not going to do it unless they get a deal. And then all the small retail that kind of makes up what New York is, those people are going to have either a choice of, like, if they try to push them to do something, they're just going to walk away. They're an LLC, so it's like,
there you go.
Okay, forget it. You want to litigate? Go after LLC. I'll start another business. See you.
Well, I think what Stu was saying, Bob, is that when you have the force majeure clause in your agreement, you're just gonna go invoke that and tell the landlord or that the force is not my fault. And if you want to go to court, okay, but I'm getting out. A lot of people are probably going to try to get out as opposed to try to stay in for the very reason that you mentioned.
Yeah, but the thing is, It depends on what you might get out of paying, but what if you want to start your business up again?
Those guys are not going to invoke the force majeure clause if they want to continue, Bob. You're right. But if some people, there are going to be a number of people, I believe, who are going to try to get out, and they're going to use that. That's the way out. That's the door to get out of it. The people that want to come back, they sit down and talk to. I think you're right. They'll just sit down and talk to the landlord and see if they can come to some sort of agreement, because everybody's going to be looking to help each other in those particular cases. But I think there's going to be a number of people who are going to say, you know what, forget it. I'm not coming back.
It's already happened.
What do you guys think the proportion of that's going to be? Bob, what proportion of small retail business do you think is just going to not come back?
I don't have a real sense of it, but I think it, depending on how it plays out, it could be very high.
That's Rolando. He's a real estate guy.
A lot of small businesses are already month to month. So
right.
now, if you were month to month and now you're out of it for 2 months, you didn't get any help from the federal government, even though it was promised. And then now you have to look at, well, first of all, it depends on what the business is. But, if you have a business, let's say you're running a coffee shop. Now you're thinking about reopening, but you still don't know yet about social distancing rules, when you can come in, what the rules are going to be, because social distancing affects profitability. If you've got a restaurant and you have X number of seats, and now they're telling you can only run this restaurant with 1/3 of the amount of seats, now your business is no longer profitable, and you got to say, why am I going to try to keep going on this? If I take this PPP money, that's just pushing it down the road, because it's a loan that I got to pay back. I've got to go into more debt to try to open up a business that I don't know if I can run profitably. So a lot of people are going to look at that deal and say, look, I'm out. Let's take what little I got, take the loss and move on, rather than throw more money into this thing that doesn't look like it's going to be profitable. So, I don't know, but we need those businesses. We need hair salons, nail salons. We need, shoe repair places. We need, we need all those businesses that keep things running. We need the optometrists, and we need the clothing stores. We need all of that, or else all of a sudden, what's the point of living in New York when you don't have access to anything?
Hey, ask Rolando that, because he's a real estate broker.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Rolando, are you there?
Oh, he's in the shop.
I think he got out of his vehicle and went in the store, Doug.
And left the camera on.
Left the camera on, yeah.
Okay, because the reason why I said that, Bob, is because he's a real estate broker, and he's been showing these spaces that you're talking about around. And I've heard him talk about some of his clients deciding to come back, and some of them deciding not to come back.
Here he comes now.
Yeah. Oh, so maybe he would have a better count to on.
Hey, Rolando, welcome back.
Yeah, okay.
How was it in the store?
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, what were the conditions like in the store you just came from?
It wasn't that busy. Still kind of early.
No, grocery store?
And I guess there's a lot of people working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when I came here a few weeks ago, there was like a line all the way outside of the parking lot to get in.
Mm-hmm.
But the last couple of days, it seems like the lines haven't been there. So I don't know.
We had a question. We were talking about all the retail stores, particularly the small mid-level retail that's closed, and wondering what your thoughts might be about, what percentage of them are going to be able to come back.
I think the only ones that are going to come back are the small takeout places. And, as a real estate guy, that's the ones that I've been trying. That's the ones that I've been showing. And I think those are the ones that are going to come back. Spaces that are like maybe 1,000 square feet to 1,500 square feet. Most of those are like, those deli, you know, the Arab deli stores, that kind of stuff. Fast food is going to be the way to go. That seems to be going to be king. Fast food takeout, rather. I'm sorry. Fast food takeout.
As opposed to a sit-down restaurant.
Exactly. All that sit-down restaurants are going to be over. And even with the, you know, I know McDonald's and Burger King and those guys are getting ready to open back up again. But I was reading a lot of the things as far as practicing social distancing in restaurants is going to be kind of hard because of the air conditioning and the airflow. So you could be 6 feet, away from someone sitting, but the person at the other side of the room, just because of the airflow of the air conditioning, they're going to get it. So it's going to have to be living in an environment where there's no air conditioning or no airflow. So so that's going to be a big thing there, and that they're not really considering enough of is the airflow that's in the restaurants. That's why the restaurants, I think they're going to die.
I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that, Stu.
Well, I hadn't thought about that either. That's wow. That's a big wow.
That's a big issue. Even like when I've gone into a couple of these like over the weekend, it was hot, and I had to tell a guy, I said, you got fans blowing up in here, and you ain't got no mask on. I said, it's like people are talking. It's an airborne you know, disease. It transmutes through the air. So if you're speaking and you got fans blowing around, you're blowing the shit all over the place. I said, you gotta put your mask on. You know, if you're gonna be working here 8 hours, you can't have these fans blowing while you gotta have no mask on. What kind of establishment was that, Ro? It was a deli. Well, I'm just passing it right here. It was a deli right here. You see that deli right there?
Where?
Yeah.
Huh?
He's outing them. He was investigative reporter, Rolando Hudson. Outing the store. No mask.
What? What did you say?
I said investigative reporter Rolando Hudson outing a store that had fans blowing with no mask. That's the headline.
Yeah, exactly.
If it breathes, it leads.
Exactly.
Wow. I didn't think that never dawned on me, Rolando. I just wanted to remind you, Rolando, you know, let's curtail your curse because that's what Bob does.
Yeah, right.
Well, I only cursed once during this broadcast, and it was only for emphasis.
I was a little shocked, Bob, because usually I do all the cussing and nobody else cusses.
I did it in a quote too.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Really, it wasn't me. It was Lauryn Hill.
That's true. That's true. That is true. That's more sophisticated than my level of cussing. Wow. Hey, Rolando, so now where are you now? At 7.9?
I'm just getting ready to find a parking space so I can go upstairs. I'm on Melrose. Melrose is 161st.
Oh, I remember that. I remember the Melrose through where the church there on 150th Street, where we had to run our wires across the church, and we were giving the people, the church people, all of our programming, and they seemed to be fixated on one particular part. I'm not going to say what they were fixated, but it was channel 69.
69.
Just saying. Yeah. I'm not an investigative reporter, but channel 69 was a channel that they were very concerned about when it wasn't working.
They and so many others.
Yes, and so many. I'll leave it at that. You know, so we had to get to a certain location, and we needed to run our wire through the church's vast property to get to this particular location. And part of doing that, we had to give the priests and the church personnel free cable, which we didn't mind.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they were I must say, Stu, they were quite vigilant in their cables.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, that was the building where one of our technicians was held hostage, if I'm not if I'm not mistaken, Stu, was in that block where Ron Hollingsworth was held hostage by one of our customers.
Okay.
Not because not because of bad service.
That.
Not because of bad service either, by the way. Yeah,
there was some level of bad service.
No. She
Something
wanted
being put
more
in.
service.
Yeah, put it in.
She wanted more service, and we didn't provide that service.
Right.
And the technician was on the radio going, "Oh, get me out of here!" and of course, since we were all much younger than him, we kept going to him. "Oh, be quiet, you big baby." So it was pretty funny.
Well, whatever happened to No Man Left Behind?
We didn't leave it. Well, we didn't leave her behind. Eventually, she let him out.
Okay.
he was in within walking distance of the headquarters. So
okay.
Pretty good. But I just remember that particular incident was connected to the church across the street from there. Quite interesting. Okay, so
looks like Rolando found a parking space. Rolando, what has it been like finding parking spaces given the situation?
It's been a little bit challenging. The only good thing is that they haven't been writing any tickets if you've parked like 5 feet away from a hydrant, and
okay.
So that's been good. So there's been a lot more parking around and no one's moving. And now that these local like garages are like cutting back their prices because everybody's parking on the street. Nobody's using any garage space anymore. So they've cut their costs down like half. And in this neighborhood, because it's so close to Yankee Stadium, this neighborhood is like jam packed with cars. So yeah, it's been a little bit difficult finding parking spaces, But once you're in, you're in.
Right.
So I try not to go out too often. I mean, I try to make it like no more than 2 times a day that I go out, And I think yesterday was probably the most time I went out. I went out 3 times. I just wanted to enjoy the day. So I drove out to Jersey and just went to the park over there. And the parks were crowded. By the pier, by the water, where you can park your car and just look out. So and the parking spaces, they were crowded. They were crowded. They were all.
So people were staying in their cars. They were not outside on the on foot.
Yeah, they were staying in their cars, and some of them walked out and came back into the cars, but the majority of them all stayed in their cars. And the younger people that were out there, they had no mask on, no gloves, and they were just hanging out. And they weren't practicing any social distancing. So. But it was very few of them, yeah, so it's been good. I mean, the weather's been so nice. It's hard to just stay in the house now. I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
It's really hard, and it's only going to get even nicer. So. But I think I went and got my passport pictures because I'm trying to see if I can make a move somewhere or something. I mean, I think the conversations I've been having with people, everybody's talking about doing road trips. No one's going to be flying any planes. So there's going to be a lot of people doing a lot of the summer vacation this year is going to be a road trip.
You should drive to California, Ro.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe go towards Vermont or even Canada. That's kind of where
California.
Yeah, I'm not going out there. That's too much. That's too many states I have to cross to say, hey, where I'm coming from. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I might try Chicago, but that'll be it. But because what I'm hearing that is against the law. You can go to each state. It's just that the police are going to be harassing you, especially coming from New York.
Right, with New York plates on, that's like driving with a bullseye on your back. You're going to get stopped.
A COVID bullseye.
Right, exactly. You're driving, black man with New York plates. You're going to get stopped.
Yeah. I know. You got to get stopped even just going upstate because they're already ready for. They don't even want us coming upstate into like Kingston. What is Woodstock? All those areas. New Paltz, they don't really want to, because this is the time of the season. This is the time of the year. A lot of the New Yorkers come up there. They look for their summer homes. They look for, they look to get away. And they're, from what I'm hearing, they're not looking forward to us coming up there, but they're gonna have to.
That's sad. Okay, hey Stu. So so let's thanks a lot, Ro.
right.
But let's all right, man. Good talking to you, man. Talk to you soon.
Okay. All right, I'll talk to you soon.
You guys got any final words as we wrap up another fabulous week of the After Action Report, where we cover all topics, big and small, and even include quotes from famous singers in our commentary.
Well, I would just like to say, I'm heartened by the what appears to be a real decline in the infections and death rates here in the epicenter of the whole crisis. That is very positive. I put out words of caution to folks as the weather breaks and gets warm, not to do silly things like running out there without your masks on, because this thing could certainly flare right back up again and we could be right back in deep trouble. So we got to continue to remain cautious and safe and smart.
Oh, .org.
Yes, thank you. Safeandsmart.org, by the way. To follow on to get this and other reports about what's going on. www.safeandsmart.org.
Also want to remind people that Harlem Emergency Network will be doing our weekly COVID-19 update on Wednesday morning, 9:30, live on Facebook and live on YouTube at our Harlem Emergency Network channel.
Hey, Bob, can me and Stu be on the show?
Absolutely.
No, I'm just kidding.
Send me an invite, Bob. I would like to at least monitor, if not participate.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, I will too, Bob, because I actually enjoy talking to you, but don't talk about it.
Well, but I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the fact that we're able to extend this network every week, even a little further, and connect it. And I feel like this is great infrastructure for the next challenge that comes down the pike, for us to be able to get online, share valuable, actionable, and trustable information.
Wow, that's pretty high, Bob. Well, I'm just going to finish up by saying that just remember, everybody, if you tune in next week, you just might learn something. And for those of you who hang around after Bob and them leave, we will be replaying all of the radio checks from the after hour from the HEN network of today. We will replay all the radio checks that Bob graciously was the network commander today. So, we'll be back next week at the same time. And, remember, like I said, if you tune in, you just might learn something.
All right. See you guys.
Okay, thanks, guys.
All right.
The time is 0900. This is Network Control for WQKJ 301 Harlem Emergency and Information Network for our Monday morning radio checks. Again, the time is 0900. This is our message for the day. Today is May the 18th, 2020. The temperature is 57 degrees out. Highs expected to be 69 degrees and cloudy today. A reminder that we are also participating live this morning on the WEBT After Action Report. That broadcast can be viewed live on YouTube. Search for WEBT After Action Report 5.18.20. And our radio checks between now and 1000 will also be a part of that broadcast. A reminder that tomorrow at Tuesday, we have our weekly 2100-hour conference call that will be on the regular Zoom line. Also, Wednesday morning, Harlem Emergency Network will be broadcasting our weekly COVID-19 update that's live on Facebook and on YouTube. Our Facebook channel is facebook.com/Harlem Emergency Network. YouTube, also search for our Harlem Emergency Network channel. A reminder that on Wednesday evening, we will continue our amateur radio training. That also will be on Zoom. Also, for Harlem Emergency Network members, please check your emails. You're going to get an email invite to our new Harlem Emergency Network Virtual Operations Center. That will be the repository for all pertinent information, including class material for our amateur radio training, as well as links to the various conference calls and Zoom calls that we have during the week and anything else pertinent. That is the end of our message for the day. It'll be repeated again at 0930 and at 1000. The time is now 0902. Network Control standing by for radio checks from all stations. Network Control standing by.
Network Control, this is Illinois 1, calling for a radio check. Over.
Illinois 1, I read you loud and clear. How do you read me? Over.
Network Control, I read you loud and clear 5x5. I am in Fishkill, New York, and my situation is safe. Question, will you be repeating the message of the day at 9:30? Over.
Yes, I will be repeating the message of the day at 0930 and at 1000. Network Control standing by.
Illinois 1, standing by.
Harlem Emergency Network, this is 1028. How do you read me? Over.
Read you loud and clear. How do you read me? Over. 28, I read you loud and clear. How do you read me? Over.
I read you loud and clear. Over.
28, did you hear the message of the day? Over.
Affirmative. Over.
And what is your location and status? Over.
My location is 59th and Western Avenue. My status is normal. Over.
That's a copy, Hen 28. Network Control standing by.
So I'll be standing by until the 10 o'clock over. I'm sorry. I'll be standing by until the 10 o'clock hour.
Network Control, this is CERT 1424. Can I get a radio check? Over.
CERT 1424, I read you loud and clear, 5x5. Over.
I read you loud and clear as well. I'm coming in from my replacement cell, which is now properly set up to use Zello. I will be standing by till the 1000 hour.
2-4, I am glad that you overcame your technical challenges Network control standing by. Time is 09:30. This is WQKJ 301 Harlem Emergency and Information Network. It is time for our message of the day. Today is May 18th, 2020. The temperature is 57 degrees Fahrenheit. High is expected to be 69 degrees and cloudy today. A reminder that we are also broadcasting live on the WEBT After Action Report. You can find that broadcasting live on YouTube. Search for WEBT After Action Report 5.18.20. Reminder that tomorrow at Tuesday, we have our 2100-hour conference call, weekly conference call. That is an invite call. You should already have that information. Reminder that Harlem Emergency Network members can invite guests to join the call at 21:30. Reminder that Wednesday morning, we will be broadcasting our weekly Harlem Emergency Network COVID-19 update live on Facebook and YouTube, facebook.com/Harlem Emergency Network, and the YouTube Harlem Emergency Network channel. I think we will be talking a little bit more about the Kawasaki syndrome that has been a side disease that is also part of the COVID-19 problem. And we will be talking about how the numbers have come out that young Black boys are having more incidents of this than other demographics. And we also may have an update on COVID-19 and the prison situation. So we'll keep posted for that. Reminder that our amateur radio training continues this Wednesday, also on Zoom, and Harlem Emergency Network members, you have that information. Also, check your email because we will be sending out information and an invite to our HEN Virtual Operations Center, where we will be using that as a repository for pertinent information, including class trainings and links to our various online conference calls and Zooms. So that is our message for the day. We'll be repeating it once more at 10:00. And this is Network Control. We'll be standing by for radio check for any and all stations. Network Control standing by.
WEBT Unit 2 calling for radio check. Come in, K.
This is Network Control. Go ahead. I hear you loud and clear. Over.
WEBT Unit 2 calling Network Control for radio check. Come in, K.
WEBT Unit 2, I hear you loud and clear. How do you read me? Over. WEBT Unit 2, I read you loud and clear. How do you read me? Over.
WEBT Unit 2 calling Network Control, not reading you. Can you read me? Come in, K.
WEBT Unit 2, I read you loud and clear. 5x5. How do you read me? Over.
Network Control, WEBT Unit 2, your level is extremely muted. Over.
WEBT Unit 2, that's a copy. I'm not sure why that is. I've been on network control all morning and have gotten 5x5. But I do read you loud and clear. Over.
That's a good copy, Network Control. I'll check my device and make sure I don't have a setup issue. My condition is safe and sound. Location, New Rochelle. Over and out.
That's a copy, WEBT Unit 2. Network Control standing by to 10:00. Also, I am on the WEBT After Action Report as well as we speak. Network Control standing by to 10:00.
Network Control, Network Control. This is the North 1. How do you read me, Network Control? Over.
Network Control, Illinois 1, I read you loud and clear. How do you read me? Over.
Network control, even though I read you 5 by 5, your volume has been very low all day. So it was not WEBT. Your volume has been low all day. And some of us, I guess, was able to hear you, and some of us was not able to hear you. But your volume is very low. I am in Fishkill, New York, and my situation is safe. Over.
Okay, that's a copy of Hanoi 1. Next time, tell me earlier, and I'll try to do the adjustments. So network control standing by to 1000, and I'll be giving the message of the day once more, and then I will be off the air, but on the WEBT after action report. Network control standing by. Okay, this is network control for Harlem Emergency Information Network with our message of the day. The time is currently 10:01, and a reminder that we are, this is the last of our radio check, but we will continue to be on the WEBT After Action Report that is live on YouTube as well. Temperature today is 57 degrees. The high is expected to be 69 degrees and cloudy. Reminder that tomorrow we have a 2100-hour conference call weekly, and that Harlem Emergency Network members can invite guests to that call for 2130. Reminder that Wednesday morning we will be broadcasting our weekly Harlem Emergency Network COVID-19 update that will be live on Facebook and YouTube, facebook.com/Harlem Emergency Network, and the YouTube Harlem Emergency Network channel. We will be talking about Kawasaki syndrome further. We will also probably be talking about COVID-19 in the prison system. Reminder that our amateur radio class training continues on Wednesday at 1800 hours, 6 p.m., also on our Zoom as well. Reminder to our Harlem Emergency Network members to check your emails for invitations to our virtual operations center, where we're going to be putting information for our trainings and links to our various Zooms and conferences. This is the last message for the day. If you have a radio check, get it in within the next 60 seconds or so. Otherwise, everyone have a great day. This is Hen 1 operating as network control for WQKJ 301 Harlem Emergency and Information Network. The time now is 10:03. Network control is out.
This is just the first phase of